This isn't just any other Thursday. There's an NFL football game on tonight. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show on this glorious day, one of the most special days of the entire year. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we're here to talk about everything involving the Washington Commanders. It is the debut, the kickoff of the 2025 NFL season. I've said that we've been going through the milestones, the NFL draft, the start of training camp, the preseason games, the roster submissions. We're here. The NFL season is starting tonight. We have 3 more days until we get to see the boys out at Northwest Stadium as the Washington Commanders host the New York Giants. It's one of the best times of the year, and let's just get a quick round of applause. You guys are excited. Easiest thing you can do, hit the like button. Takes 2 seconds out of your day. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. We got daily uploads coming out, and I have a second video coming out later today with my full breakdown of what you should be watching for in the Commanders game against the New York Giants. The Commanders favored by about 6.5 points in that game. There's been a lot of questions. Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, Brandon Coleman, Sam Cosmi, all dealt with injuries, shake up in the running back room, movement on the defensive line. On the Giants side, new quarterback, a new defensive star, Abdul Carter, third overall draft pick. We're going to answer all of those questions. What are the matchups to watch? What do I expect to happen? Even going to get an official score prediction from me in that video coming out later today. So make sure you guys, again, are subscribed and you're checking back for that video when it comes around later today. So in this video this morning, I wanted to touch on the first official practice of the 2025 season, which was yesterday on Wednesday. And most importantly, go over some of the quotes from the players. How are they feeling as they get ready to start the official season? Now, because it is practice time during the regular season, we're not going to get a bunch of updates on position battles. We're not going to get a look at who's going to make the team because that's already been determined, but just getting a general feel for where the players' mindsets are at and what are some of the details they're letting slip through the cracks. We're going to jump into that real quick. Before we do go there, though, let's get an update on the Kendrick Bourne situation. So as we know, the free agent wide receiver who spent last year with the New England Patriots, he worked out for the San Francisco 49ers on Monday, worked out for the Commanders yesterday. No, excuse me, 2 days ago on Tuesday. I had suspected he would have finalized the decision by Wednesday or Thursday, but now we know that's not the case. He said that he's going to be taking the week to review his options. I don't know if that means he's going to see if one team wins and one team loses, but just in the interest of that, I wrote down the Commanders and the 49ers betting odds. So the Commanders are hosting the Giants as 6.5 point favorites. The 49ers are on the road against the Seahawks as 2.5 point favorites. So if the 49ers lose and the Commanders win, does that mean Kendrick Bourne is signed with the Commanders? I don't really know, but all I do know is we're not going to get a decision this week. We're going to have to stick around and wait. I'm a little confused by this because when you've got offers on the table, those could disappear very easily. Also, I saw a report that the Commanders would have fully guaranteed his contract if he had signed before week 1, but he is not doing that, which in a sense is actually smart by him to not rush into a decision he doesn't want to make, but also means he's not getting fully guaranteed money. So I don't know, but Kendrick Bourne, we're going to wait and see. Maybe he does sign with the Commanders. Who knows? But we're going to have to wait for next week to reach a full decision. So now let's get some quotes from the players. Dan Quinn gave a press conference, as he always does before practice the other day. It was basically a big load of nothing. I've got to admit, Dan Quinn, I love the guy. I love Dan Quinn. But I'm really over the repetitiveness of what he says. And I get it. Coaches are taught not to reveal too much, nor do they want to, because they don't want to spoil what's going on inside their walls as they get ready for an opponent. But with that being said, when you listen to Dan Quinn at these press conferences, it's like someone has a soundboard and they're just pushing the same buttons over and over and over again. Yeah, I'm tired of him saying, "Oh man, we love his toughness." What are you looking for? Oh, that he's a dog-ass competitor. What about this guy? Oh, the way we get down, it's not for everybody. He's been a huge part of that. He's establishing this culture. You got to get to know the man before the ball player. It's the same things over and over and over again. And Dan Quinn's a very smart guy, very cool guy. Like, this is not an attack on him. As someone who's trying to make content for their YouTube channel, I just wish the reporters maybe could could egg him on, ask different questions, get a little bit more out of him, because I can tell you exactly what he's going to say before he does end up saying it right now. But again, that's probably what he wants. So he's actually one step ahead of me and all of us as we go through this stuff anyway. So let's talk about the actual players. So number one, Jayden Daniels. Anytime he talks, you listen to him. He's also not very quotable because he too doesn't use many words. He doesn't give too many details, but the things he says are important. So he was asked, what is different between this season and the last one? He said, there's yet another year under my belt to know what I'm getting myself into in week one. Last year, I didn't know. Now you have a routine, preparation, consistency. Very true. Last year, Jayden Daniels in that week one game against the Buccaneers barely threw the ball. He just ran a lot. And then in week two, which was against the Giants, the first win of his career, the offense kicked 7 field goals, but they didn't score a touchdown. Jayden didn't have that understanding of how to get the ball over the line. Now he does, as we have seen, obviously through his stellar rookie campaign. He was asked about the Giants. He said they have a defense that flies around. Everybody's going to be flying around. Everybody's healthy. We're going to go out there. It's going to be a battle. And then specifically, he was asked about Josh Conerly Jr. The question framed it as, you were a first-round pick last year. You know the pressure and the expectations of being a first-rounder. Now Josh Conerly Jr. is stepping into that. He's got a really tough matchup with this outstanding Giants defensive line that has Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau and Abdul Carter and Dexter Lawrence. What are you saying to him? What's the approach? Here's what Jayden had to say. Quote, people are going to see what he's made of. People are going to try to go after him and see what he's about. Everybody wants to see what the rookie is about. The kid is very competitive. He's very quiet. Always got a mean mug. I try to get him to smile more. But just know, people are going to come after you and try to expose you because they know it's your first game and they might not think you're ready, but I know he is. So a big vote of confidence there from JD5. Josh would play left tackle in college. He went against Abdul Carter. I've talked about this numerous times. He faced Abdul Carter in the Big Ten championship game, Oregon versus Penn State. They had 35 pass protection reps against one another. Conerly did not allow a single sack, a single pressure, or a single hurry. Now, this is a different situation, right? Carter's got much better teammates now. The defensive line of Penn State was great, but they're also not Dexter Lawrence and Burns and Thibodeau. So he's going against a new offensive line with an all-star cast of teammates in a new position. Josh is now on the right side. He made that move over when he was at the Senior Bowl, and he basically said that he wanted to show his versatility for any NFL scouts that were in attendance. I don't know if that made the difference between him falling to the second round and getting picked by the Commanders in the first round, but ultimately it proved to be his wise decision. He was named the most outstanding lineman at the Senior Bowl. Some struggles in camp. The reports have shown that, but he's also been a steady improver as things have gone on. He was outstanding in the preseason. Now he gets the week one start. That has basically all but been confirmed by these quotes that you're getting. Now let's get quotes from Josh Conerly himself on the Giants. He said, I think they're great. They're a great front. They added Abdul. He's a great player. Got to see him a little bit in college. They've got a great front. On making his NFL debut, he said, quote, it is a dream, but at the same time, I've been preparing for this my entire life. So again, confirmation that he will be starting at right tackle. I know we saw him atop the unofficial depth chart the Commanders could put out. There could have always been changes, but in the Jayden saying the kid's ready, Josh saying I've been waiting for this my whole life, I'm ready for it. It's basically confirmation he will be starting at right tackle. And I love his mindset. Josh, again, by all accounts, is a quiet kid, a kid who asks questions, take notes, doesn't repeat mistakes. And when you hear him say something like that, to downplay the significance of making your NFL debut, sure, he's not the only person who's ever done this before, but it still does show that his mind is in the right place. It's actually very reminiscent of how Jayden Daniels would speak to the media throughout his first season. And different players, different positions, obviously, different pedigrees, different backgrounds, all of that. But Josh seems to me like he's in a good place. Terry McLaurin also gave some quotes. So they asked him about what's it like now that the business side of the football is taken care of. Now you can go out there and just play. He said, quote, I'm excited to just focus on football now. It's been great practicing the last few days. I'm in great shape. I'm feeling really good. The great thing about it is I'm working with Jayden again, and I'm in the same offense. Nothing has been new, so now it's just about honing in on the game plan for this week and fine-tuning that. Something I think is a very interesting question to sort of decipher here is there's rightfully a lot of speculation about Terry's physical condition. Not that he hasn't been working out. I'm sure he's in outstanding shape just in general, but there's a difference between being in shape, being strong in the weight room, being fast on the treadmill, on the track, and then actually being in football shape, because it's different to whatever Terry's doing, if he's doing some trap bar deadlifts, supersetting it with some pull-ups and some mountain climbers, like however he's getting himself in shape, he could be great cardio-wise. He could be great strength-wise. But when you're getting pounded by 200-pound man every rep, and then you got to sprint back to the line, and you're going no huddle, and you got to go out, and then you got to beat the cornerback on a route, it's two very different things. So it's right to wonder if Terry's in that kind of shape. But at the same time, we have to keep in mind here, this is the first time in Terry's career that he's going into a week one with the same quarterback 2 years in a row. So from just the mental side of it, the comfort side of it, the connection, the chemistry, he's actually further ahead than he has been at any point in his career before. This is also going to be his fourth coordinator in 7 years. So he's used to having to learn a new system, new vocabulary. This time he just got to roll over with Cliff Kingsbury. Like he said, same system as last year, same vocabulary, same terminology, same nomenclature. All that stuff, all it is we're focusing on the game plan for this week. So again, is Terry going to be a little behind physically? Potentially. I would say even probably a little bit, but he's further ahead mentally and with his level of comfort than he has been at any point in his career. So I think it's right to say those two things could virtually offset one another, and you see a really good performance from Terry in week one. So certainly, one of the biggest stories of the entire NFL this offseason, something to keep an eye on when we get into week one. But I do think Terry's still going to have a solid game, even if he doesn't go for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Whenever Jayden targets him, is he going to come up with the important catches on 3rd down, 4th down, red zone, stuff like that? Yes, I think he will. And now the fan favorite. Wanted to close it out with this man, Croskey-Merritt, Bill Croskey-Merritt. It feels weird calling him Bill Croskey-Merritt because the whole point of Bill is to shorten Croskey-Merritt. It's like by a vowel. That's so many letters, right? But if I call him Bill Croskey-Merritt, at that point, if I'm using it, I might as well use his government if I'm using his full name. So I think if I call him Bill, if I just say Bill with no last name, are we all on the same page? We all know who I'm talking about? Because I'm either calling him Croskey-Merritt or I'm calling him Bill. So one or the other. I think I'm going to go with Bill. Anyway, rambling too long here. Bill, yesterday he was part of the running back team drills. And this doesn't mean anything. This is not a final answer on the matter. But I posted my video after the Commanders released their unofficial depth chart. Bill was listed 4th. He was behind, number 1 was Austin Eckler, number 2 is Jeremy McNichols, number 3 was Chris Rodriguez Jr., and then it was Bill. Well, when these players were doing their individual drills yesterday, the first person to get reps was Eckler, which lines up with the depth chart. Bill was 2nd, McNichols was 3rd, Chris Rodriguez was 4th. Doesn't mean anything. I'm just putting it out there because I try to share as many details as to what's happening at practice with you guys as I possibly can. But I did think it was maybe a little bit noteworthy. And if we get to the game and we find out that Eckler, Bill, and McNichols have dressed and Eckler or Bill gets the first carry of the season, then we can look back on this and say, oh, okay, well, this actually it was a bit of foreshadowing to the matter. But for right now, it's nothing. We'll revisit it after we see what happens at the game. Here's a quote from Bill. He said, "The support definitely means a lot to me," talking about the fans there. "I'd do anything for this fan base. They've been good to me. They've made me want to go harder on the field. I'm definitely happy to be here. It surprised me. And me being in the 7th round doesn't really mean anything. If you can play football, you can play football." This kid's really interesting because he's not only a fan favorite, he's become this fantasy football diamond in the rough, and everybody's snapping him up whenever they can in their drafts. I actually had a draft last night. My team's crazy, by the way. I got the first pick in the draft. That's the first time in my entire life that has ever happened. I had the first pick. I took Jamar Chase. My first 5 picks were Jamar Chase, Brian Thomas Jr., Lamar Jackson, Amarian Hampton, and I think Travion Henderson. And then I've also got Zay Flowers, Colston Loveland. My team's actually kind of nuts. And Mecca Buka. My team is pretty crazy. But I went to draft Bill, or I added him to my queue, I think, and he disappeared in like the 5th or the 6th round. The hype surrounding this guy is just through the roof. And it's so funny because he was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school. He went to Alabama State where he didn't have good numbers. I know we love Bill, and I haven't gone back and I haven't watched his Alabama State tape. So I don't know if he just had nobody blocking for him or the scheme was awful. But his first year at Alabama State, 186 yards, 2.6 yards per carry. Then he goes 164 yards, 3.8 yards per carry. Next year, 433. Next year, 470 yards. Both seasons below 4.0 yards per carry. Then all of a sudden, he transfers to New Mexico lights it up, 1,200 yards, 6.3 yards per carry, 17 touchdowns. One game at Arizona, 106 yards, 8.2 yards per carry, 1 touchdown, and then he wins MVP of the Shrine Bowl. So I don't know where the change occurred. I don't know if he wasn't bought in earlier. I don't know if he got with the right coach. I don't know. Again, bad offensive line, bad scheme. Maybe took weight training more seriously. But there's a very clear line in the sand where this guy was, no offense to him, but from a football perspective, he was nothing. He was a 0-star recruit, one offer at Alabama State. He went there and he was pretty bad all 4 years. He never broke 3.9 yards per carry. He never broke 470 yards in a season. Maybe it was just an opportunity thing. I don't know. But the point is, now this guy could be getting the Commanders' first carry of the season, and everybody's buying into him. And look, I love the guy. From the phone call when Adam Peters called him and he said, y'all got a good one, y'all got a dog, you could hear in his voice, there's this humble confidence. He's not over the top. He's not braggadocious. But like he said, me being in the 7th round doesn't mean anything. If you can play football, you can play football. And I believe that I can play football. I tell you what, I don't know if he's going to dress because teams rarely dress 4 running backs. Eckler's going to dress. I assume McNichols is going to dress. That means it might come down to C-Rod and Bill for that final spot. But whether it's week 1, whether it's week 4, whenever we see Bill, I'm definitely going to be cheering him on because he's made me a fan of him already. And I haven't even seen him in an NFL game. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Like I mentioned, I'm coming out with my official prediction preview, the big matchups, storylines, final score, all that. It's coming out later today for Commanders-Giants game. Make sure you hit the like button on this video if you did enjoy. Hit the subscribe button if you're new around here. Also, there's a new way to support me. You click the hype button and use your hype points. I really don't know a whole lot about it, but I'll be honest. If you guys want to support me in any way you can, that's definitely a way you can do it. And it's going to be good for me and the channel, but also just good for Commanders content in general. The Commanders have one of the smaller YouTube communities. So let's go ahead. Let's grow. Let's all do our part. And let's make sure we get out there. That's going to do it. I'm going to head on out of here. As I always say, guys, have a great day.